Hello Sugarplums, welcome back to my channel. Guys, in today's DIY, I'm gonna be showing you how to make your own mold at home using only a silicone tube, and it's extremely easy and super cheap to make. Now, if you love working with epoxy, guys, you know one of the things that's gonna eat out your money is gonna be buying mold. So today I'm gonna be showing you how to make this mold. Let's go. Now, one thing that you're going to be needing is a silicone mat, but if you don't have that, you can always use parchment paper or very thick plastic if you're planning to use it just for one time or maybe twice if you're lucky. Now you're going to need to buy those silicone tube that says 100% silicone. Now you can buy those any place that sell, like your hardware store like Home Depot or even on Amazon. Anywhere you can buy those. You're gonna need a marker to do your shape, and you're gonna need a little bit of soapy water. Any type of dishwater or detergent water will do, guys. That's all you're gonna be needing. Now I have two I'm gonna be making. Now I wanted to make like a geode form mold, and then the other one I'm just gonna make a straight one. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and shape trace out my shape, and I wanted it to be bigger, so I went over and redo it. Now when you're doing your shape using a pen, I highly suggest that you use like a permanent marker, so that way it doesn't the marker ink doesn't stain your stuff if you put water on it, because you will put water on it. You don't want that to be inside your mold. Now you're gonna need one of those silicone caulk gun, whatever they call them. Now I went and put out my glue inside the caulk gun, and then now you see on my tube they have like a low line. That's probably like where they recommend that you cut it, but I'm gonna cut mine a lot more lower than that, like almost like halfway, because I want the silicone to come out of the tube very, very thick. Now this part you're gonna need to take your time to do it. Take your time and trace out the shape that you make, and you can make any type of shape that you want. This is the beauty of it. Now those silicone tube, they're pretty cheap, and you can buy a few of them and make as many mold as you want. Now if you plan to use them from one day, you don't need to buy a silicone mat. I already had those mat at home, so I'm gonna be using them, plus I'm gonna be able to reuse those mold over and over again. Now when you doing your your first pass of your silicone, now you might gonna have like part that's like thinner than any other, because you're pushing the silicone out of the tube. Now it's okay, you can just go ahead and do it over again on top of it. Now for my geode mold, I went 2 times, and for the straight mold I'm doing right now, I went over it 3 times, just because I want my mold to have like some kind of depth to it. I don't want them to be very, very shallow, so I want them to be very to hold kind of a little bit more epoxy than if I had like a very, very shallow mold. Now this part is the most important part, guys. Get yourself like some soap water. Dishwater soap is fine, detergent is fine. Now you're gonna wet your finger. Now because you're wetting your finger with the soapy water, your finger is not gonna be sticking to the silicone. So I'm gonna go ahead and using my soapy finger, I'm gonna shape out my mold. So even if you don't make the shape perfect at the first time, it's fine. This is the part that you have the time to go ahead and shape your mold, move it, and make it like nice and straight. Do whatever the shape that you want. And also, guys, try to do this part before your silicone start to set, because once the silicone start to harden, it's gonna be impossible for you to make the shape. Now while I'm doing this, I'm actually using my finger to kind of push the silicone to make contact with the mat, because this is the only way that you're not gonna have any leakage later on when your silicone is cure to the mat. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my time and do push and pull, like shape how you see me doing right now, and I do that for my geode mold. The geode mold, they are very pretty forgiving because the edge part is not supposed to be straight, so you can make any shape that you want. But for the straight mold, you're gonna need to take more time to finesse it because it's gonna be straight. Now, one of the things that you have to keep in mind, guys, even if you buy like a professionally made silicone mold, 99% of the time when you remove your silicone project from your mold after it's cured, you're gonna need to do sanding. You're gonna need to sand the edges, sanding the top. It's not gonna be perfect. Now, don't expect not to have like sanding. Yes, you're gonna have a lot of sanding. You're gonna need to sand the edges to finesse it once your epoxy project is cured. So this is gonna be the same thing for this mold. So might as well make your own mold, if you want to do something. If you don't have access to buy like mold online, or if you don't have the money to buy them because they are pretty expensive, so I suggest that you go and make your own. Now, this is what the mold look like after I finish shaping it. I'm showing you that the silicone is making contact with the mat, so we are good to go. I left my mold to cure for 1 day completely. Now this is the next day and my mold are completely cured. Now I'm showing you, I'm pulling and tugging on it. It's stuck to the silicone mat completely. Now I wanted to make like 4 of the geode mold but 1 tube of silicone, guys, because I went over my mold a couple of times on each one of them, it only gave me those 3 mold for 1 tube. So make sure you have enough of the silicone tube if you're gonna go over your mold multiple times to have like a decent depth. Now my mold are pretty big. Now I went and cut them in singular just because it's going to be easier for me to do the next step, which is you gonna do the testing part. You have to test your mold with water, guys. Make sure you test your mold before you even think about pouring any epoxy on it, because epoxy is super expensive and you don't want to waste your epoxy. So make sure you go ahead and do a little bit of water with like some coloring on it. You can put food coloring on it, but I didn't have that, so I used like an old marker to give it a little bit of tint. Now taking your water, be very careful not to pour water outside, because you might end up thinking that your silicone is your silicone mold is like leaking. Well, it's not. So I'm taking my time pouring the water on inside the mold, and I put it like all the way to the top, because if you're gonna put epoxy in your mold, it's gonna be all the way to the top. Now you're gonna take your time touching it, verifying that there is no leakage. Now if you don't see any leakage, that's it. You can leave your mold there for at least 5 minutes to make sure nothing's gonna come out. Now I'm gonna be showing you the time that I finished doing that. It was about 4:56 p.m. and then I was planning to leave it for 5 minutes and come back and check it, but my sister called and we ended up spending like more than 30 minutes talking. So now you can see it's like a little bit over 30 minutes later, and I came back. That's it. No leakage, nothing, not even one drop, nothing. So we are done. I'm just gonna go ahead and remove my water from the silicone mold, and then we are good to go. Now you're ready to pour your epoxy. Now if you do have like any leakage, all you have to do is take more silicone and then put on the outside again. Make sure you smooth it on the outside and let it cure. That's it. Now I show you guys that I still have water inside the mold, so just so you know, it's not a lie. So I went and removed my water, dried the mold completely, and then now I'm ready to cut out the excess of the mat that I was on the outside, just to give it the same shape as the mold. Now I just left a little bit of the silicone mat just a little bit, just because over time when you start, you know, putting your epoxy on it, and then you have to pull and tug to remove your epoxy project after it's cured, you might end up, you know, having a little bit of leakage because you're gonna pull the silicone over and over again. Now with that little lip that you left, you can literally, if you have any leakage later on, you can go ahead, you have a little bit of space to add more silicone on the outside, never on the inside guys, on the outside, if you have any leakage over time. And I'm showing you how big my silicone are. They are very, very big, the mold, so I'm pretty happy with those. And for this one, the straight one, I'm gonna be doing the same thing, remove like the excess, leaving just a little bit of the matte on the outside. This will make your life a little bit more easier when you're trying to move your mold later on. Now that's it guys, you are done, easy peasy. I hope you do your own mold guys, because they are super expensive, very, very expensive. Thank you so much for being here guys. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you have your notification bell on so you don't miss out what I do with this mold later on. Guys, I love you so much, and thank you for all my returning subscribers. I love you, and I'll see you soon guys. And as always, be blessed and stay blessed. Bye guys. Mwah.